For various reasons, I have not been on for a couple of days, which I won't go into. But I wanted to let you know that today was a very special day, and tomorrow is an extremely special day, because my book was published on 5/5/15, which means, to my utter astonishment, that tomorrow is the day that my book was published on 5/5/15, which means 10 years ago tomorrow that it was published. And I can hardly believe that. You know, I went through this whirlwind of my mother dying, and then our house being sold, which was our family home of 48 years, and trying to figure out where to go, and, you know, trying to get through this strange time frame, you know. And it's interesting that all of that whirlwind happened in the year 2020, when COVID was the big horrible thing that they spread out on the earth. It's interesting that we would have our home up to that year. And I don't think that that's coincidence. I think that there was something unleashed at that time. And my book is so incredible, and I had really prayed to God for it to go worldwide, you know. So God has taken it to Australia, New Zealand, France, I think somebody in Portugal, and South Africa, Canada, London, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, America, of course. And I don't know if I'm leaving anybody out. I hope not. But the thing is, my book is printed in England and Australia, so that those people in Europe can order it, and it's close by. They don't have to try to, you know, pay fees from shipping it from America. So tomorrow is an extremely special day, and let me just tell you what happened when I uploaded the final version to my publisher, and I sent it to her that morning. My mother and I, we drove into town, and we were turning on this side road, and it was the first time I'd ever seen this in my life. But we had these huge Eurasian doves that were coming to our yard, which had never been in there, which I showed and showcased in my book, and how they were loving on each other on the roof and everything. But I had a flock of them come under the tree that I built my sukkah under, which faced Jerusalem. And the day that my book was going to be published, which are all Torah numbers, 5/5/15, we turned on this little side road that's paved, and there's nothing but telephone wire all the way down. And would you believe that doves were lined up on that wire all the way down? And when we started going down the road, they started lifting up and lifting off and flying up. And it was extraordinary. I didn't have a cell phone at that time, and didn't have a digital camera. So unfortunately, it's right up here in my memory bank, and I can't show it to you. But I have showed you in my book pictures of the doves that came, and they were so extraordinary. Like, they had these looks on their faces like they loved me and they loved Mom, and they would always call back to us and talk to us. And they lived on our property and nested there, which I made a whole video about that, and Mom happened to notice that the male was bringing long pine needles, about 4 inches to 6 inches long, to the female, and he would fly up and land on the branch, and he would walk over to her and then pass the little needle to her in her beak, and she would take it and she would weave it into the nest, which they built in our bristlecone pine tree, which is a very ancient tree. It's one of the trees that grows the oldest, and they chose that tree to build their nest in. The people that moved in cut the tree down. And it was a very rare species, and it's very difficult to get pine cones from that because, as I told you before, with the cedars of Lebanon, you have to wait 35 years to even get the cones that have the seeds in them. So, that's a long amount of growth to have to wait. And the bristlecone pine is similar, for the tree to produce cones for seeds, and so that's why it's a precious tree. So they chose that tree, and we were able to open up the curtains in the living room, and I was able to film out the window and photograph them building the nest. And I did a video of that and put music to it. And it was just beautiful. And that happened only about 6 months before Mom died. Well, before she fell and then went downhill. And then, by the next spring, she was gone. But God did some extraordinary things in this book. And, I was watching some of Robert Breaker's trip to Israel. And I really would like to talk to him because part of my book talks about some of the things he's questioning. And I have answers to it, astonishingly. So these are just some things that happened, but on the day, 5/5/15, all Torah numbers, 5 books of Moses, 5 books of Moses, and 3 sets of 5 books of Moses. Tomorrow marks 10 years, the anniversary of uploading the final manuscript and having her publish it. So I thank God for this, and of course, I named my channel Elijah and Moses because they're the 2 witnesses, and they witnessed the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. That's why they're witnesses. And so my book was published at Olive Press Publisher, and I think it's interesting because the 2 witnesses are called the 2 olive trees of the earth, or they stand before God. So there's a lot of depth to the story, and it's really special, But I was just thinking how time has flown by, being in a grief state, in multiple grief states. You just can't imagine the amount of things that were lost, like my garden, all of my plants, my roses, our pine trees, you name it, everything was cut down. And my clematis vine that had a deep purple flower that was swagging across the front entryway. It took years to get that to do that. So, I don't know. I don't know why God allows these things to happen, but to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm really hoping and praying to be out of this place very soon. But tomorrow, I will have my 10th anniversary of the almond tree Aaron's Rod, the Messiah King of Israel, and published by Olive Press Publisher in upstate New York. And I'm here in Colorado, where the miracle began that started it all. So I just wanted to touch base with you. I have had a lot going on the last few days. I'm trying to figure things out. I truly wanted to be able to go down to Texas to visit my mother and father's graves and my grandparents' graves, since I've not been there since 2021. And usually spring is the best time to go down to Texas before it gets hot. I don't know if it's going to work out. There's a lot to think about and a lot to move. I have to either keep my stuff here and pay for the hotel, or I have to pack everything up, move it to the storage unit, and then bring it all back and come back here. So please pray for me. I need lots of help with this, with the storage units and the situation, and I need lots of prayers. I know that there's a lot of Christians who really aren't Christians, who don't care, and they don't want you talking about it. But, this is part of my experience, and this is my channel, so this is what I'm talking about. And it's extraordinary that 10 years tomorrow is when my book was published, and I just can't believe it. Which means that everything else was put on hold to deal with everything. And I have more extraordinary details to share that if I can get that work done and get that published, it's going to be a mind blower. I can tell you that much. So anyway, sorry I yanked my camera. Whoops. So I just wanted to touch base and let you know, happy 10 years, Olive Press publisher. Thank you for publishing the testimony of the King of Kings for the last days that was revealed by the power of the Holy Spirit. There's nothing like it, and you know it's the Holy Spirit when you read it and see it. So it's on all kinds of other online bookstores, but they kind of keep all of the proceeds. So there's the train. I'm out here on the patio and trying to cook my dinner out here. So I'm going to be, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow for the anniversary date. I wish I had a celebration or something grand would happen. But maybe the rapture will happen. But that would be a random wish, wishful thinking. It doesn't even seem at all like it's going to be the 10th anniversary. I have my mind blown, but you know, I'm not the only one who had these years just kind of yanked away. One day we'll understand it all. One day I'll understand and I'll know why I went through all of this stuff. Thank you to everybody who purchased my incredible testimony of Jesus for the last days. You definitely get your money's worth, every penny, for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours, weeks, years, months that were diligently spent writing down everything the Lord told me to write down. And you know, what more can I say? I just pray that it reaches many people. And it has reached a couple of famous people. So I'm very grateful for that. And I hope that, you know, I had wanted to make a film out of it, but it takes the right people to open the right doors, and I pray that that happens in the near future. So God bless everybody. Thank you for watching and listening. And it was such a beautiful spring day today. It was incredible. The perfect temperature, the perfect weather. And now we had some cloud cover going over the mountains, so they're expecting 1 foot to 2 feet of snow up above the 10,000 foot level in the mountains. And we're under, you know, rain kind of mix watch for the next couple of days. Probably will just rain down here, I imagine. So I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I've got to think of something to do to celebrate. But I'll probably be by myself, and I'll be thanking God for all that He provided for the testimony. And you know, I started my channel to market my book on here so that people would know about it, because there's nowhere else that my book really is except on my publisher's website on olivepresspublisher.com. And you can read about it and see the interview that I did on one of the pastor's websites that had invited me to talk about my book just one time, and I was very grateful for that. I don't know. There's more to come, and the Lord has to open the door, so I'm just watching and waiting for that to happen. Well, anyway, the sun is going down here. There's a nice cool breeze blowing, and I'm just so grateful and thankful for spring. I love it so, so much. Well, you know, the light's getting dimmer here, so I'm going to shut this off, and thank you for waiting for another video. I just did the last 2 lives, and one of them was over 2 hours long. So I've had things to do, and I've been really busy. I'm just trying to figure things out and really need to do that for this spring. I'm so thankful to God for all of the revelations that he had me write about, and the fact that there's more to come. If I could ever get this situation worked out, I could get it finished and document it on film, and that would be extraordinary. So I guess I'll go for now. Keep your hopes on the Lord, and I'll see you, and have a good night tonight. Shalom.